everyone.
Hello, my name is Sobczak. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Florida and I'm a business solutions intern here at Variantz. Number one, briefly tell us what you know about Variantz. I know Variantz is a smart IoT company that sells a plethora of different products used to make the experience just more seamless between technology and humans. What is the ADD principle and how did it affect you and why? The ADD principle is adapt, demonstrate, and deliver. So I believe the ADD principle is very important because it's really used to get over any road bumps you might face in the work environment or just in general life. Being able to adapt was essential throughout my experience here at Variantz. Number four, what is the try and learn approach and how did it affect you? The try and learn approach is essentially just to do something and then learn from the mistakes of doing it so you can improve in the future. I really believe the try and learn approach was super important and it's something I wasn't doing the best job at first, but I quickly realized that here at Variantz you just have to try things and if you fail that's okay because you really grow from these mistakes. I think the worst thing you can do is simply just to spend time not doing anything except for just thinking about the perfect way to get something done. Number five, what are the three most important positive traits you must have in order to succeed at Variantz and why? Well, I think the first trait you need to have is you need to be a very curious person. I believe there's a lot of challenges and obstacles that present themselves on the job, and you really need to wonder where these problems originate from and what are some different methods to tackle the problems. I'd say a second very important positive trait is you have to be ambitious. Sometimes the projects you want to do might be a little too much at first, or they might be out of your skill set. However, the ambition really comes into place to really get a final deliverable that's good. I'd say the third most important trait is, I'd say you need to be very open. You need to be willing to learn, willing to make mistakes, and just willing to learn on the job. That's very important. Number six, how is school and life back home different from Variantz and Singapore? Why? So I believe there's a major difference between the University of Florida and Variantz because at the University of Florida, we are just given set assignments with set tasks to do. However, here in Variantz, it's the exact opposite. We weren't really given clear directions. That was kind of up to us to figure out how we would achieve the goals which we set out for ourselves. All right. Question 7. Looking back, how would you have better prepared yourself before starting your internship at Variantz and why? Yeah, so I would have definitely done much more research into just Singapore in general because I didn't realize how different Singapore would be compared to the United States. Everything from the public transportation, the way real estate works here, it's just very different. So I wish I had a much more firm grasp of how everything works in Singapore before coming here. Okay, how has team collaboration and working with your supervisor advanced and/or complete workloads in comparison to working alone? I feel really privileged that I had a really great group of fellow interns to work with because we all were able to kind of help out each other in different projects. For example, I would oftentimes ask questions to Tessa, who was the economist intern, and she definitely helped me with some of my goals. And also, with the research I was doing, I was able to assist others. So it just facilitated more efficiency and overall growth. What did you learn about yourself during this internship? I learned that I can really grow in a short period of time. I think going into the internship, I was very different than how I'm leaving it. I really think these last 2 months were very challenging, but they promoted a lot of growth. I would say at the start of the program, I really didn't understand what I was supposed to do, but now I really feel like I got a good grasp of things and I was able to get some good deliverables out. What aspect of the internship pushed you to grow? I believe having the internship being very open-ended really pushed me to grow because there are times where people were not giving you specific directions on what to do, what not to do. You really had to grow as a person to realize, okay, this is what I need to do, this is how I'm going to get it done. It was a lot of self-driven ambition. Were there any moments where you felt especially connected to your work? I would definitely say there were a few moments. I really enjoyed coding in R, and having the opportunity to code in R here was definitely enjoyable for me because it reminded me of some of my difficult classes at UF, and I was really it was really nice to be able to use the technical skills I learned and actually apply it into a real world situation. What did you like and dislike about your supervisor? I liked that he was very demanding. I really think it made me just a better person leading the program now. At the same time, if you asked me at the start of the program, I disliked that he was so demanding because at first it seemed very overwhelming and it seemed like I wasn't the right guy for the job. But so, interesting perspectives here. What is one thing you're proud of accomplishing during your internship? I would say I'm proud that I got some pretty good deliverables out. I must say I did crunch a lot of numbers in R, and I think I made a couple really good insights on market opportunities, especially in the smart home, smart office sector. Have you got in trouble throughout this internship, and how did you solve it? Yeah, I definitely ran into a few moments where I was definitely in some trouble because I was having issues coding, or I had issues, I would say, coming up with methods to achieve the goals where I set out for myself. But the real way I was able to solve it was, for one, consulting with Ethan for a little bit. He definitely gave me good hints of how I should tackle problems, but ultimately it came down to really me having to dig deep to really get things done. What is one thing you learned from your internship experience? I learned that work is definitely not easy. It can be very challenging, but very rewarding at the same time. Going into the internship, I thought it was going to be a clock in, clock out kind of deal, but you really can't look at the time. You have to look at what you've got done and how good is the quality. Is it acceptable to turn into your boss? It was much more demanding than I thought it was going to be. Last question. Were there any documents or company materials that, if provided to you, would have improved work efficiency and timelines? I would definitely say that if I was provided with specific data sets, that definitely would have been easier for me to crunch numbers with. That being said, in a way, I'm glad the data sets weren't provided to me because it really taught me how to really dig deep throughout the internet, throughout other sources to collect my own data and then to analyze it in the way that I deem best. So definitely a lot more individual, personal growth, this method, which in retrospect I really appreciate. All right, this is the end of my exit interview. Thank you so much.